I'd like to call to order the July 8th, 2024 meeting of Plymouth Township Council. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we have our first presentation, I just want to make an announcement that this will be our last meeting here at the Community Center, effective August 1st of this year. All council meetings, workshops, and all citizen board meetings will be returning to the Township Building at 700 Belvoir Road. Tonight we have a presentation from the Montgomery County Pathonetary's Office on the Hope Cards by Ann Cornell, and Noah Malia, the Pathonetary, is also here. We're going to move because our heads get in the way.
Thank you so much.
We will not have this problem at the Township.
I was about to say, you seem like pros at that old hat. My name is Noah Marlier, for those of you who don't know me, and I am the Montgomery County Pathonetary. I am here with my outreach director, Ann Cornell, who is fantastic at putting together the PowerPoint presentation and plugging it in. I would have no idea how to get this working, so I thank her. I'm here for a number of reasons. I just wanted to kind of give a general overview about what the Pathonetary's Office does for anyone who might not know, although I know Councilwoman Bramblage certainly knows what a Pathonetary is and how to pronounce it. Just kind of give you an overview, but there's a couple specific things, initiatives that my office has been doing over the last few months that I wanted to bring to your attention. So thank you, Manager Karen Weiss. It's good to see you. It's been a while. Solicitor Clark, it's definitely been a while, but very good to see you, and to the council, it's an honor to be here. So about the Pathonetary's Office, this office is the office where you file legal papers. So not your criminal matters, but any civil matter, almost every civil matter. If it's a legal filing, it gets filed in the Montgomery County Pathonetary's Office. Many different types of filings. 9 out of 10 people look at me and say, what the heck is that word you just said, Pathonetary? Do you think maybe it's a podiatrist? It is not. But 1 out of 10 knows exactly what it is because they got divorced in my office. That's where you file a divorce decree. If you get sued or someone sues you, you're going to be filing legal papers in the Pathonetary's Office. And a few of the issues that I think this council really cares about, I don't want to be presumptuous, but I think I know a few of you pretty well. Landlord-tenant matters. Landlord-tenant matters are appealed via your local district judge to my office. And so if something is filed in my office and there's an issue that I can speak about, it touches on my office in any way, I'm going to speak about it. If it's an issue that I care about, and I think that the residents of Montgomery County care about. So regarding landlord-tenant matters, I've spoken about housing insecurity in this county, housing affordability, homelessness, again, issues I know that you care about here on this council. Name changes are filed in my office. And this is an issue that's very, very important, especially to the LGBTQ plus community. Who might be transitioning, might be folks transitioning, that might be changing their names. And we've run a name change clinic for 3 years now through my office, working with Legal Aid in Montgomery County, working with the Bar Association. This is a name change clinic that has rivaled Philadelphia's name change clinic, and I'm really, really proud of it. But we also have, and this is why I'm here specifically tonight, the Protection from Abuse Department within my office. Folks that are being abused in a relationship, survivors of domestic violence, they can come to my office for what's called in Pennsylvania a PFA, Protection from Abuse. You might know it as a restraining order. The reason why most people know it as a restraining order, in California it's called restraining orders. Most movies are made in California, in Hollywood, and so in the movies they're restraining orders. But protection from abuse, it's the same exact thing. My office has 30 to 50 petitioners per week coming in. Mostly women, many women with children come to my office, sometimes with black and blue on their face from recent abuse. And they're seeking protection from the courts. And the way to do that, the first step in the courthouse would be to file the petition in my office. And it's a long, drawn-out process. It's not fun. It's scary. It's intimidating. You got to come to the court administration, go to the prothonotary's office, go to the court, have a hearing, come back to my office. We do the information into the state system, the PFAT system, and then they go to the sheriff's office so that that order can be served on the defendant. And then they got to come back within 10 days and have a final hearing. So it's a really tough process. And what I've tried to do over the last few years, I've been here in Montgomery County Prothonotary for the last 5 years, 4.5 years, is make the process just a little bit easier. It's not going to be easy, it's not going to be fun, but a little bit easier for the women, mostly women that are involved. One of the programs that one of the initiatives that has come up through my office is the Hope Card. Now, this program started because I was at a coffee with Councilman Bramble, and we were talking about how to help Montgomery County, how to help Plymouth residents, how we could collaborate, and she brought this idea to my attention, and I'm so very grateful that she did. This initiative has only been done in a couple of states, one Native American territory here in the United States. It has not been done in Montgomery County by any other Prothonotary's office. Washington State, their legislature just passed a law saying that this has to be done in Washington State. So we've been in contact with them. What it is this: when you get a final order from a judge, final protection for abuse, a final PFA, my office has to, by law, send out those orders to the plaintiff, to the defendant, the person being protected, and the person who the PFA is against. Well, every person in Montgomery County that has a final order sent to them is going to get a letter from me with a Hope Card. And what the Hope Card is much of the information that's on your final protection for abuse reduced to a credit card sized document. Many of the people that get a PFA, they get the PFA, it's 8 by 12 paper, it might be many pages long, multiple pages. They don't necessarily keep it on their person. Maybe they keep it in their safe deposit box, maybe they keep it in their glove compartment, they keep it somewhere at home, but it's a little cumbersome to keep on their person. The Hope Card is not cumbersome at all. It can be in a wallet, it can be in your purse. That woman who's been abused and has the PFA is in the Target down on Chemical Road, and her boyfriend who has been abusing her is stalking her through the aisles. She can go up to a police officer and say, "Officer, I have a Hope Card. Can you please get me some help?" And that officer is going to help the police as well. We worked in conjunction with the District Attorney Kevin Steele. We presented to the Police Chiefs Association from Montgomery County on this. And now I'm going around to many of the municipalities to let the elected officials know what this is, but also hopefully to let the police departments, confirm that they know, so that when someone shows them this Hope Card, they know what it is, and everything's smooth. But this should help the police because this has the information that they can look up and find all the information on that file. So it can speed up the process, cut some corners, so to speak, and get that survivor the help that she needs. So I'm very, very proud of the Hope Card initiative. On the back of the Hope Card, by the way, are some resources. Laurel House, the Women's Center of Montgomery County, the Bar Association has the contact information for those resources so that the survivor has that information as well. Now, before I move on from Hope Cards, I want to make it very, very clear because people remember the name. Like, those Hope Cards, that sounds like a great thing. Can we get some Hope Cards? Just as a reminder, again, reiterate, you don't want the Hope Card. The Hope Card is an important resource for the person that has the protection from abuse. What I would like all of you to do is to make sure your police departments know, make sure your residents know that they can come to my office and get a PFA through the courts, and then they will get home. Secondly, and I'm so, so proud of this initiative, we were the second county in the state, in the Commonwealth, to allow petitioners to petition for protection from abuse electronically, start the process electronically. Before Montgomery County started back in February, the only other county in the Commonwealth, I believe, is Allegheny. But people can start the process from anywhere where they have an internet connection. And this is really, really important because I described the process just a few minutes ago. You come in, you got to go to court admin, court administration, go to the prothonotary, back and forth, back and forth. This at least cuts out a good chunk of the beginning part. when a survivor comes in, if they've started the petition electronically, they will come into court administration, and that information will be there, waiting for them, instead of filling out the petition paper. And what we're seeing is that this is shaving off time that these women, again, oftentimes with their kids in tow, have to spend in the courthouse. 30 minutes, an hour and a half. One of the judges is looking at it comprehensively and trying to figure out exactly how long. But anecdotally, we believe this is shaving off an hour to an hour and a half that survivor has to be in the courthouse for this process. And I'm so very proud of that. So we believe that it's cutting down on the time. We believe that that keeps people safe. The woman will be more likely to come in, a person will be more likely to come into the courts if they know that maybe instead of 6 hours in the courthouse, it's only 4 or 5 hours. So we think that this is keeping people safe, and we're really proud of this initiative. At a minimum, it's making the process just a little bit easier. So I'll take any questions at this time, but again, my name is Noah Marlier. I'm your Montgomery County Prothonotary, and just so glad and proud to serve you and to be here this evening. Take any questions from the council.
Any questions from anybody? Chief, do you have any questions about it?
Actually, I was just going to ask, do you advertise this at all on the county's website, something that we can share on our Facebook page, just to let residents know?
Yeah, absolutely. We've been advertising a little bit through the county. They've amplified the message a little bit. I think we did do a press release with the district attorney, a joint press release, but that was back about 3 months ago. I think that might still be up.
It probably, yes, it should be. We also have a subsection if you go to the Voluntary's website, which is on the county website, and you go to the protection from abuse section. Book cards is underneath that. I also have English and Spanish language flyers that give an explainer about it, if you'd like that for a bulletin board or staff.
So we've revamped all our outreach efforts and all our social media, certainly, but also our literature. Chief, we've revamped everything about landlord-tenant issues and evictions, worked with the district judges to get information about my office into the appeals packet when you're evicted from your home, so that they know how, those tenants know how to appeal the eviction. For PFAs, it's the same kind of thing. We have a lot of literature, and almost all of it's in Spanish.
So when a person gets a PFA, they automatically get a whole card, like they don't have to know to ask for one, it just comes along with their, I imagine, 8/9/11 version.
Right. So just to clarify, though, someone gets a temporary PFA the day they go in. It's an ex parte hearing. That means they go before the judge. The defendant may not even know that that person's bringing in the PFA against them. So then within 10 days, they have a final protection for abuse. If a final order is issued at that time, my office will send that order, plus automatically send the letter and the hope cards. Yeah. So it's automatic. They don't have to ask.
Sounds like a great resource. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Other questions?
Quick question. Is the process online, does it include information on how to delete your search history or your history?
We were just talking about this today. So one of the things, it's a really good question. The question was, does it have information on how to delete your search history? We don't have that on there. It was a big part of the discussion when putting this together, because that's a very good question. Someone who's a survivor, who's filling out this application, her abuser walks in on her, what happens? We do have a button that makes it very easy to close. That we were able to do. Unfortunately, we were not able to do the clearing of the browser, because that's really kind of
That's kind of proprietary to the
network
companies, the network. So like Microsoft, Google, Yahoo, who actually operate the browsers, would have that decision. We unfortunately can't make that move, but we do have disclaimers on our site to use private browsing mode or to clear their search history, even if they're not going on the petition mode. It might say that we're looking at that section and then Laurel House, Victim Services Center, or anything like that. You can also fill it out anywhere with a web connection, so it doesn't even have to be at home. So it could be friend's house, family members, coffee shop, the library.
And I will say, this was a collaborative effort, the whole thing. So DA Steele was behind this from the jump. Like I said, it originated with Councilwoman Gramlin. And also the county has amplified the message. This is a very important issue to Commissioner Winder, the issue of domestic violence, and she's been great about amplifying the message. And the county, frankly, is the ones that laminate the cards for us and have allowed us to do that in our budget. So got to thank the county as well. Any other questions? Thank you so much for having us. Thank you so much. I'm really honored to be here. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andre Maldier, and Ann, thank you so much for coming. Appreciate it.
It's great to see you. Take care of
All right, is there any public comment on the agenda itself? All right. Next, we have a 20 years of service resolution for Len Hess. Will be read by Invicio.
Thank you, Joan. Whereas Leonard Hess has served the Plymouth Township Information Technology Department faithfully since July 1st, 2004, and has therefore completed 20 years of service. And whereas Plymouth Township Council desires to formally recognize the diligent and valuable service rendered by Leonard Hess and publicly express its appreciation. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Leonard Hess is congratulated for completion of 20 years of service with the Plymouth Township Information Technology Department, and be it further resolved that this resolution be entered into the official minutes of Plymouth Township, and that a copy of this resolution be publicly tendered to Leonard Hess, adopted this 8th day of July by Plymouth Township Council. I would make a motion that we adopt this resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Whitney. Any comments, questions from council or the public? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Ms. Isio.
In favor.
Ms. Leonard.
In favor.
Mr. Nelson.
In favor.
Mr. Whitney.
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. Congratulations, Len.
Thank you.
20 years, Lynn.
It's been my honor. Thank you so much.
On the middle. Thank you so much for the man of honor. Thank you.
Email me. Yeah, right. I noticed that.
Thanks, Lynn. Good work. 20 more.
Okay, we're going to go a little bit out of order for our next. We're going to take something down from Parks and Recreation because the representatives here tonight are working tonight. And although they really want to sit through the rest of the meeting, we've told them they can get back to work. So Ms. Leonard will be reading a Park and Recreation Professional Day proclamation.
Plymouth Township Proclamation, Park and Recreation Professionals Day, July 19th, 2024. Whereas Parks and Recreation promotes physical, emotional, and mental health and wellness through organized and self-directed fitness, play, and activity. And whereas Parks and Recreation supports the economic vitality of communities by providing frontline jobs, childcare for essential workforce, and promoting community revitalization. And whereas Parks and Recreation creates memorable experiences through engaging virtual and physical distance programs, dynamic online events, and new learning opportunities designed to keep families active while stay-at-home orders are in place and beyond. And whereas Parks and Recreation fosters social cohesiveness in communities by celebrating diversity, providing spaces to come together peacefully, modeling compassion, promoting social equity, connecting social networks, and ensuring all people have access to its benefits. And whereas Parks and Recreation supports human development and endless learning opportunities that foster social, intellectual, physical, and emotional growth in people of all ages and abilities. And whereas Parks and Recreation strengthens community identity by providing facilities and services that reflect and celebrate community character, heritage, culture, history, aesthetics, and landscape. And whereas Parks and Recreation facilitates community problem and issue resolutions by providing safe spaces to come together peacefully and facilitating conversations and services in order that our communities may heal both physically and emotionally. And whereas Parks and Recreation sustains and stewards our natural resources by protecting habitats and open space, connecting people to nature, and promoting the ecological function of parkland. And whereas Parks and Recreation supports safe, vibrant, attractive, progressive communities that make life better through positive alternatives offered in their recreational opportunities. Whereas Plymouth Township Council supports the skilled work of park and recreation professionals and volunteers performed to provide recreational and developmental enrichment. I'm sorry, I skipped. Provide opportunities for healthful living, social equity, and environmental sustainability. Whereas Plymouth Township Council values the essential services that park and recreation professionals and volunteers perform to provide recreational and developmental enrichment for our children, youth, adults, and seniors, and to ensure our parks and recreation facilities are clean, safe, and ready to use. Now, therefore, be it resolved, Plymouth Township Council does hereby proclaim July 19th, 2024 as Pennsylvania Park and Recreation Professionals Day in Plymouth Township. Adopted this 8th day of July 2024. Plymouth Township Council, Karen Bramblett and Karen Weiss, Manager. Oh, I make a motion to adopt this.
I have a motion to adopt the resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Vicio. Any questions or comments from council and from the public? We're hearing none. We'll take a roll call vote. Mr. Whitney?
In favor.
Mr. Nelson?
In favor.
Ms. Leonard?
In favor.
Ms. Vicio?
In favor?
And the chair votes in favor. Congratulations. We love our Parks and Recreation.
Barbara's here. Barbara's here.
Are we taking another picture? Or no?
Okay.
It's not on a plaquette. And
Gotcha.
Phil's request.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Actually, I gave you a few
Is this-
copies. Actually,
You
a few
gave
copies. Yeah, Phil asked for a few copies.
copies.
Okay.
Yeah,
post in
okay.
various
Yeah.
places.
Yeah, yeah. You get to keep them all.
No problem.
Yeah, I think you guys have put them in a couple of places. So, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Paul.
Okay, I think we can go in order now on our agenda. An announcement that Plymouth Council held an executive session on July 1, 2024. Next, I would like to make a motion that we approve the minutes for the workshop meeting of June 3rd, 2024, and the regular meeting of June 12th, 2024. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Whitney. Any comments or questions from council, from the audience? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Mr. Nelson?
In favor.
Ms. Leonard?
In favor.
Mr. Whitney?
In favor.
Ms. Vicio?
In favor?
And the chair votes in favor. All right, next, may I have a motion to approve the departmental reports and bills?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Whitney. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nelson. Any comments or questions from council or the public? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Ms. Vicio?
In favor?
Ms. Leonard?
In favor.
Mr. Nelson?
In favor.
Mr. Whitney?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. All right. Under administration, we have an RCO amendment ordinance here for final consideration. Will be read by Council Solicitor Michael Clark.
Thank you. This is an ordinance amending the Code of Plymouth Township, Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, at Chapter 2, Administration, at Section 2-25A, Responsible Contractors, to add subsections A4 and B4 exclusion. A4 would read, to further effectuate the purpose of selecting responsible contractors for certain projects, specific exclusions shall be provided from the requirements of this section. And B4 is that exclusion. The township may award a contract without application of the terms of this section if all of the following apply. A, the work that is the subject of the contract is being completed by a public-private partnership. And B, the funding for the work is supplied by both public and private sources. And C, the property is owned by the township but subject to a long-term lease to a not-for-profit corporation. This proposed amendment was contemplated because of the Harmonville Fire Company's new building that they are getting ready to build, which is located on township property and is being paid in part by township funds and by some of Harmonville's own money. So this would be the only limited exclusion of the responsible contractor ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Is there a motion to adopt the ordinance? The ordinance amendment, excuse me.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Nelson. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Ms. Vizio. Any comments or questions from council? Any comments or questions from the audience on this amendment? Hearing none, we will take a roll call vote. Ms. Vizio.
In favor.
Ms. Leonard.
In favor.
Mr. Nelson.
In favor.
Mr. Whitney.
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. Next by Mr. Nelson, BCA audit engagement letter by LAM Management Services, Inc. Mr. Nelson.
Yeah, I have a letter here from a Richard W. Orloff, who has been engaged with the township since 2005. He's a certified public accountant who represents our interests by auditing the BCA, the Borough of Conshohocken Authority sewer, and he is asking for a early renewal of his contract for contract years 2025 through 2030. Just a brief summary of the contract that he's proposing. He's proposing to keep the same terms, conditions, and deliverables as the January 12, 2012 contract we have with him, except for he is proposing for 2025 that his fee will remain at $8,400, but in 2026 it will increase to $9,000, and then thereafter increase $200 per year until the end of the engagement period. Just for reference, cumulatively, he has saved Plymouth Township more money in multiples of his fees than his fees have been. So I would so move to accept the early renewal of his contract for years 2025 through 2030, according to what he's proposed.
Thank you. Is there a second motion to the motion?
Second.
Second by Mr. Whitney. Any comments or questions from council or from the public? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Mr. Nelson.
In favor.
Ms. Vizio.
In favor.
Ms. Leonard.
In favor.
Mr. Whitney.
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. All right, I would like to make an announcement in keeping with our effort to hold more town halls to keep the public informed about what's going on and be able to discuss and ask questions. I'd like to announce that our next town hall will be to provide input on the township-wide sidewalk plan. This town hall will be held the third Wednesday in September, which is September 18th, and that will be held at the Township Building. We have an ordinance that requires sidewalks to be installed either in new subdivisions or when there is a complete redo of a house, which is happening a lot. And a lot of people have been requesting variances, and council established a sidewalk subcommittee to work with our department heads about how we might be able to look at that ordinance, perhaps make some changes to it rather than requiring people to have variances all the time. Where does the township want to see sidewalks? Do they want people to go through the variance process? Some people talk about the sidewalks to nowhere, if they're the only house in the middle of a block that's required to put in a sidewalk. So we thought it would be a good idea to help inform the sidewalk committee and our code enforcement department if we let the township weigh in on this. There was a very broad plan for sidewalks and a walkable community in our most recent comprehensive plan, but it wasn't really specific. So anyone who wants to have input or have ideas, please come on September the 18th and let your views be heard. And one of the things we're considering as a town hall will be deer management, but that's far in the future. Okay. Next, up for consideration is an appointment of Mulhern Consulting Engineers as our lighting consultant. The person who performed lighting consultant services for the township for many years, unfortunately, passed away. He gave many years of service, and we do need to have somebody to take a look at plans to install lighting, especially parking lot lightings, when there are developments and redevelopments going on. So we have Mulhern Engineers, who have provided lighting consultancy to neighboring townships, and they are proposing to provide those services to us at the rate of $150 per hour. And I would make a motion that we appoint Mulhern Consulting Engineers as the Plymouth Township lighting consultant. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nelson. Any comments or questions from council?
Just that the developers pay that fee, not the township.
Oh, right. Ms. Weiss brings up a very important matter. The developers pay that fee. So that $150 an hour will be reimbursed to the township by the developers themselves. That's not out-of-pocket money, or that's not eventually coming out of our budget. Thank you, Ms. Weiss. Anyone else have questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Mr. Whitney?
In favor.
Ms. Vizio?
In favor.
Ms. Leonard?
In favor.
Mr. Nelson?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. All right, under police and public safety, do we have anything tonight, Chief?
I would pass on that today was the deadline for applying for our police test. And where other departments have averaged 10 to 30 applicants in this county and surrounding counties, because we constantly get calls, we actively recruited a very diverse group of 470 candidates.
Wow.
So,
Further proof that Plymouth Township is the place to live and work.
I think
Thank you,
that's
Chief.
exactly what these people think, and that's terrific.
They do,
So
you
I'm
know?
looking forward to see how things shape up. We have a good group, very diverse group, because we actively went in to the city. We went into all kinds of different areas, contacted all different types of civic groups, and it worked. So we're looking forward to. And that's not just the police, but working with civil service. A lot of the progressive ordinances that the council's passed has allowed us to contact these many people and get them interested. So we're excited.
That's great.
Thank you, Chief. And we really appreciate your efforts to attract a really diverse group of people to come and serve us here in Plymouth Township. They know they're getting on the best police force anywhere. So,
Thank you, Chief. Can you just remind us, like, what's the very next step with 470 applicants? What happens?
Actually, this coming Saturday, the 13th, at the Police Academy on Conshohocken Road, we'll be giving a written test there. So there's a written test, and then we take the top 50 passing scores. We have actually, we council increased that from 30 passing scores, which was another thing that helped us. So of those top 50, then there'll be an agility test that will be given about 3 weeks down the road after all the tests are graded. If there's any challenges to the test, they pass a basic agility test that's actually the standard to get into the police academy. So we at least need to know that they are fit enough to go to the police academy if they need to go. And then of those people that pass, there'll be an oral exam scheduled about 3 weeks to pass, a very comprehensive one. And people that pass that, there'll be a polygraph test given background investigations. And then we have an eligibility list that's given or submitted to civil service, and once they approve it, council gets it, and we take it from there.
Sounds great. Thank
It's a
you.
long process.
Yes.
It's almost about a half a year's worth of weeding people out, and you do get the best of them. Take your time to do it right.
That's great. Thank you.
We do. It's more difficult than getting into an Ivy League college to get to work here in Plymouth Township. So I applaud all those who applied, and I wish them the best. Thank you, Chief. Anything else?
That's all, thank you.
All right, we have nothing under Public Works tonight.
Nothing under
Engineering?
engineering tonight as well.
Thank you. All right, under subdivision and land development, Mr. Whitney for 1508 Sandy Hill Road.
All right, I have a letter here in regards to the property at 1508 Sandy Hill Road with ACL Development LLC, 19462, asking for an extension until September 15th, 2024. I would make a motion that we grant this extension.
Motion from Mr. Whitney, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Ms. Vizio. Any comments or questions from council or the public? We'll take a roll call vote. Mr. Whitney?
In favor.
Ms. Vizio?
In favor.
Mr. Nelson?
In favor.
Ms. Leonard?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. Next, a slight change on the agenda. On 502 West Germantown Pike, the Keystone Building, we now have, rather than an authorization to be read by our solicitor, we have an extension to be read by Councilwoman Vizio.
Thank you, Chair. So I have a letter from Jenna Castman dated July 8th, 2024, with regard to Plymouth Meeting KPG 3 LLC, the property at 502 West Germantown Pike. KPG agrees to extend the deadline by when the township has to render a decision on the pending subdivision land development application for their existing project. The extension is through August 12th, 2024, and I would make a motion that we accept this extension.
Motion by Ms. Vizio, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nelson, sorry. Any comments or questions from council? Comments or questions from the audience? I hear none, we'll take a roll call.
Yep, you have the hand.
I'm sorry, yes, sir. Can we just have your name, please, and whether you live in Plymouth Township?
Frank Johnson, 2685 Narcissa Road. The property on Germantown Pike, is that the apartment project?
That's, did you want to ask that,
No, no,
Mr. Clark?
no, fine.
That is the Keystone Office Building at the Plymouth Meeting Mall, kind of sandwiched in there.
Yes, is that to conversion for the apartments?
Yes.
Okay. My question is, how many apartments are slated for that? That's the existing building.
Correct.
Okay. How many apartments in the conversion?
149 apartments that are going to be 1- and 2-bedroom units.
Okay, and a question. I thought I read somewhere that each individual unit has to have so many parking spaces, and they're calculated by 1 bedrooms or 2 bedrooms in the ordinance. I'm
That's
not-
correct.
That's correct. So are they going to build a garage?
They are not. They have existing easements with Preet, who is the owner of the mall, for use of parking in and around the building. There will not be dedicated spaces, but there will be sufficient parking as determined by the township's traffic engineer to make sure that there is sufficient parking. But they have easements with Preet.
I understand what you're saying, but they're overlapping with other uses, like Boscov's, they're overlapped with interior shops and all that. So basically, how do you eliminate parkings for existing uses within the mall, or on the outside of the mall, like the restaurants, you're supposed to have so many parking spaces for each table, etc.
So the township's traffic engineer and engineers will be looking at the site-wide and making a determination as to what all of the various uses would require for parking, and making sure that there is sufficient parking. They did it when they added the Honey Grow, they did it when they added the Shake Shack, they did it when they added certain other things. Right.
That's what I'm understanding, but as they each, they continue to build on the site, then you're overlapping approvals for parking spaces?
But no, we're not approving the Shake Shack, and let's say that needed 30 spaces.
Mhm.
Then we're approving Honey Grow, and that needed 30 spaces, and we're counting only 30 spaces once. We're counting it site-wide. The engineer keeps a calculation of how many spaces there are on the site. And I think their review of it shows that the site is not over-parked. Certain areas are, go over by the restaurants at 12 o'clock on a weekday, and it's very crowded over in that area. But this area of the mall is certainly not over-parked.
Okay, so you're not eliminating existing parking spaces from the use?
No. But these will not, these will not be dedicated spaces like right out in front of the apartment. It'll be on the site.
It's spread throughout the...
It's shared parking. Yep.
Shopping center.
Yep.
So, just as long as you guys are making it happen within the ordinance legally, you know what I mean?
It will comply.
Mhm.
And I believe there'll be fewer cars for the apartments than there were back in the day when it was an up and running office complex, and you had, all the various tenants of the office buildings and their employees coming in and using those spaces.
But I believe I read in the ordinance, there's like 2 parking spaces per every 2-bedroom, or 1 parking space per every 1 bedroom.
It's 1 point something. I don't have it in front of me, but
So
yeah.
when you times that by 148 houses or town, 149 units, that's a substantial amount of parking requirement.
But from what it was originally, and if there's a decrease, there is quite possible that it'll be a decrease. From what it was originally, it's not that we're adding all that many cars to be parked. And the parking is somewhat different timing with respect to the mall, but that's something that is more for convenience of the people who are living there than for the parking calculations. They have to comply with our ordinance, otherwise they have to get a variance from the zoning hearing board, and there's been no determination they need a parking variance yet.
Yes, sir. Can we just have your name and whether you live in Plymouth?
My name is Ed Sturman. I live in Pleasant Road. I've been in Plymouth Township for over 40 years. On that aspect about that, a few people in my area where they came and asked me, the parking at the mall's been tough anyway, and the traffic congestion on Germantown Pike, and you've seen it between the hours of 4 and 6, is already horrendous, and you see the turnpike. So if you put these apartments in, you're going to have over 200 cars there. Their other question is the IKEA building that was there in the back section. Are they going to put apartments in there? Has somebody come to you to build something else? That is another question that these friends of mine have asked me to ask the committee, you guys,
The IKEA site has been approved for apartments.
for apartments. How many apartments are going in there?
I think the plan is somewhere in between 250 and 280.
So if you go 250 to 280 and multiply that times 2 cars, you have a ton of cars going in this whole area. What do we do about the traffic congestion?
Again, there'll be a traffic study. If they have to make changes out on the road, if they have to meet all of the PennDOT specifications, they'll be required to meet that. The plan that Preet, who is the owner of the mall, has presented includes improving the circulation around the mall, but they're limited in what they can do on Germantown Avenue because that's a PennDOT road.
Understandable. But these citizens that I know are worrying about the traffic to get up and down the Germantown Pike and getting through. And they also have another question. I'm sorry I'm hitting you with this.
No, fine.
Rumor has had it. We've heard over on Plymouth Road, where the corporate center is across from the school. We've heard there's going to be apartments in there too. Can you tell us if there is or there isn't
I think this has been proposed.
in the corporate center?
We have an application.
Next to Alexandria Drive. Back in that area, there's four corporate centers back in there. Does anybody know?
BET.
Rumor has it that we
No.
heard there's going to be a 4-story apartment complex in there. These people over on my street have heard.
No, they're talking about putting townhomes back there, not
Townhomes back in-
a, not
Do you know how many?
It's in the concept stage. They haven't submitted anything as of yet.
Okay, so that means more cars and more hustle and bustle in the area. I'm just saying what these friends of mine have asked me to ask the council.
Yeah, but isn't some of the traffic due to the fact that that's an interchange for like a few different roads? Some of the people that are driving on Germantown Pike are driving through Plymouth, and they're not from Plymouth. You get on the Turnpike there, you get on the Northeast Extension there, you get on 476 there. There's a lot of people who get on 476 to get to 76 there. That's going to be a congested area no matter what.
But going down from Germantown Pike all the way down to the high school, you're going to have congestion no matter what. And that's what their concern is to get through the township.
But
In front of the high school is White Marsh.
your point is the valid one, that when a traffic study is done, they're looking at traffic that's going to be on that road anyway. And they're also looking at when the times, the peak times when people will be coming in and out of these sites. And again,
That's what they were asking about.
yep.
The apartments there, something at IKEA, and the houses are going.
Well, keep in mind that when there is redevelopment, for example, the Keystone Building redeveloping from office use to residential use, there was traffic when it was an office building. The Plymouth Road site is an office complex. There are 5 buildings back there with offices in them. They have come to a workshop asking to rezone that for residential, but you're still talking about vehicular traffic, whether they're people coming from 9 to 5 to work in an office, or whether they are residents who are sometimes moving at those rush hour times and sometimes not. But as Councilwoman Leonard said, one of the great things about Plymouth and one of the drawbacks about Plymouth is that Germantown Pike is a major feeder from Philadelphia and from way up in Collegeville all the way down to get on the Turnpike, to get on the Blue Route, to get on the Northeast Extension. We are at a very congested crossroads. The mall itself and the property there on Plymouth Road are very close to those turnpikes, but further up Germantown, whether you're going toward the high school or whether you're heading up toward Norristown, up toward DeKalb and that way, they're coming for those highways. such as
At
they
the same
are.
time, you're allowing more people into the township to build homes and have more cars.
Right.
Well-
That's what you're doing.
Well,
Well, they're
one of the
permitted
thi-
to use their property. They're property
Yeah.
owners, they're permitted to develop their property. And the other point that Ms. Bramlett meant, the peak traffic for the office building will be worse because everyone was coming in at 8:30 or 9 and leaving at 5 o'clock when it's the peak time for traffic. Residential will be more spread out throughout the day, so it won't be as bad as it would be if it was an apartment building, which it had been, which they could do again today if they wanted to.
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to minimize your concern about or anyone's concern about traffic, but if we did absolutely nothing, if we allowed no changes in those areas and they packed those existing office buildings with office workers, as they have a right to do right at this very moment, the traffic would be much worse than anything that might happen with residential. So if they were allowed to, if they could just fill their buildings, which they could do today, the traffic would be much worse and has been much worse on Germantown Pike. When that Keystone building was full, the traffic is much worse than if we allow 148 or 149 apartments in that space. So they have the right today to fill their buildings with office workers, which would create a lot more traffic, as Mr. Clark said. Peak hours, people coming into the office at 8 or 9, people leaving the office between 4 and 5. And that would be without us making any changes at all.
Also, isn't it true that isn't there a point where if we just say no, they can take us to court, appeal the decision. If they win, wouldn't it be we now have no say what goes in? Or less of a say instead of working with them?
Well, you're correct. We would have less of a say. It'd be out of our hands at that point in time. And a great example of that is that Preet, when they filed their zoning application for the old IKEA site, was proposing, I believe, over 500 units at that site. Because of the discussions with council and because of the insistence on council, it's now going to be in the 270 range. So we cut down on over 200 units. If we had continued to fight that at the zoning hearing board, we might have won. I think we probably would have won, but you never know what a common pleas judge is going to do. And we could have seen something that had no restriction on there, which should have been 500 or more units. And they wouldn't have then had to agree to make all the changes that they're making to the internal circulation. They might not have had to make the changes that they're doing to the upgrades to the sewer system. So it's responsible handling it in this way.
And as Mr. Clark said, that we have been very aware of traffic. But by working with Preet for the old IKEA site, we're getting sidewalks to make the mall itself more accessible for people to walk around outside. They're going to have to improve the circulation of the roads, and most importantly, they're going to have to upgrade the sewer system to handle sewage that comes from buildings. So we're able to reduce the impact, although we can't totally stop people from using their property. But I really appreciate your questions, and we all care very much about the quality of life and the traffic here in Plymouth. We are very sensitive to it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir, you had more
Yes,
questions.
I have another question. Developing apartments, isn't there a cap per how many units per developable acre? I thought I read 20 units per acre.
I'm not sure where you were reading that from.
It depends on how it is zoned. If you're zoned as an apartment, a townhouse, we all live in different neighborhoods. Some neighborhoods have 1 acre zoning. Some neighborhoods, they allow townhouses. Look at the Park Apartments that went up there at Butler and Plymouth Road. So whether it's an apartment, townhouses, smaller lots like we have in the valley, larger lots like you see up off Township Line Road, Narcissa Road.
I'm talking about the mall in itself.
of the mall.
Okay, the mall in itself is zoned commercial, or no, it's zoned shopping center, okay? So, is that an unlimited amount of apartments permitted per acre?
No,
we-
the way excuse me,
Please.
the zoning change that we did limited it to a certain amount of units per acre. And if the pre-project goes in, and if the Keystone project goes in, they will have hit their limit for that site, essentially.
Okay,
So there can be no more apartments at the mall.
How many units were built on Plymouth Road, Toll Road? 300
398.
on 20 acres. Okay, so I was just wondering if there is a zoning requirement for apartments. How many units per unit?
There is, the mall property itself has a limitation on how many apartment units can go in there. If the pre-project gets built and the Keystone project gets completed, they will have hit their limit for how many can be put on that site
For the entire campus.
for the entire campus.
Okay. But then meanwhile, you still have a mall there and you have future building of individual sites for restaurants.
They would need council approval to put a restaurant outside the mall itself. So within the mall, if you remember, there used to be some,
I'm just
like we had a
asking, is
Bertucci's
this,
inside.
A large campus that you can put as much as they want in there
No,
without
Preet
limits.
No.
has to build all the parking they need. Preet has,
yep, that's a good point.
they're gonna build all the.
Preet is
parking they
building
need
structured parking.
they'll have all the parking for
They're
their,
building a parking garage.
Yes.
underneath the apartment.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments?
I have one.
Sure. Can we just have your name and whether you live in Plymouth? We don't need your street address.
I live in Plymouth. Arbati McNichols, last name is McNichols.
Sure.
I just have a question that like, basically, I don't know how to pronounce it, but like the top of Plymouth, where all the newer houses coming up, like, I heard they was making 11, but they're making a 12th one offside, or like, just basically someone's personal, not even a part of like God, I can't say it. Like they're making 11, but they're making 12 altogether, like in that one place, and like out like the top of the mountain, on top of the Plymouth, on making a right on that road.
Off of Hollowell, he's talking about,
Andrews.
where the cul-de-sac is.
Andrews,
Right.
15 units.
They're making 11. They signed said they're making 11, but basically altogether it's 12. And another one. Like I get it. Like they combine it. Like are we trying to add?
So Mr. McNichol, respectfully, we're on the item regarding 502 West Germantown Pike right now.
Oh.
You have a question about something that's not on the agenda this evening?
No, I just like trying to pop in and join it.
Okay, well, down at the end, there is another portion for audience participation, and it might be more appropriate for you to ask your question at that point in time, because this, right now, we're dealing with a specific agenda item. You're asking for, no, it's fine, but you're asking about something that's not on the agenda.
My bad.
But no, it's okay. We were talking about various apartment projects and everything, but I think it would be more appropriate for us to get through the rest of this agenda and then for you to ask your question, and we'll try to get you an answer.
And absolutely, please stay and ask your question. Okay? Thank you.
I think we have a motion and a second.
Okay. Thank you, because we didn't take the vote yet.
We did not.
Okay. All right, with no further comment, we'll take a vote on the extension for 502 West Germantown Pike. Ms. Vizio?
In favor.
Ms. Leonard?
In favor.
Mr. Nelson?
In favor.
Mr. Whitney?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. Next, we have the Outback Steakhouse rebuild at 322 Ridge Pike. Mr. Clark.
Thank you. Be it resolved that Plymouth Township Council does hereby approve the preliminary final land development plan prepared by Alpha Consulting Engineers, Inc. for Bloomin' Brands, the owner-developer, dated April 4th, 2023, consisting of sheets number 1 through 12, proposing to rebuild a restaurant located at 322 Ridge Pike, land development application number 23-2, in accordance with said plans, under and subject to the following conditions. 1, that the owner-developer shall execute a public improvement agreement and memorandum of public improvement agreement as required by the subdivision and land development ordinance and pay all applicable fees and assessments, including but not limited to the following. A sewer connection fee in accordance with the connection fee and EDU schedule in effect at the time of application for connection and payment. 2, that the owner-developer shall prepare revised plans to comply with the requirements, comments as set forth in the October 30th, 2023 report of Carroll Engineering Corporation, the Township Traffic Engineer, attached to this resolution to the satisfaction and approval of the said traffic engineer. 3, that the owner-developer shall prepare revised plans to comply with the requirements, comments as set forth in the June 1st, 2023 report of Carroll Engineering Corporation, the Township Sanitary Sewer Engineer, attached to this resolution to the satisfaction and approval of the said sanitary sewer engineer. 4, that the owner-developer shall prepare revisions to the plans to comply with the requirements, comments set forth in the January 3rd, 2024 report of Woodrow and Associates, the Township Engineer, attached to this resolution, except to the extent that waivers are granted herein to the satisfaction and approval of said Township Engineer. 5, that the owner-developer shall prepare revisions to the plans to comply with the requirements, comments set forth in the June 7, 2024 report of Joel Rowe, Zoning Officer, attached to this resolution to the satisfaction and approval of the said Zoning Officer. 6, that the owner-developer shall prepare revisions to the plans to comply with the requirements, comments set forth in the June 23rd, 2023 report of Suburban Lighting Consultants, the Township Lighting Consultant, to the satisfaction and approval of the said consultant. 7, that the owner-developer shall obtain all required permits and approvals from the Sewer Authority, a DEP sewage planning facility, a planning module waiver, the water company with jurisdiction over the property, and a highway occupancy permit from Plymouth Township and a highway occupancy permit from Montgomery County if needed. 8, that the owner-developer shall prepare revisions to the plan to comply with all requirements, comments set forth in the July 2nd, 2024 report of the Planning Agency and the July 14, 2023 report of the Montgomery County Planning Commission, each attached to this resolution to the satisfaction and approval of the aforesaid Township Zoning Officer. 9, that the owner-developer shall prepare revisions to the plans to list all waivers granted and notes required by this resolution. 10, prior to the issuance of any permits, all outstanding legal, engineering, and administrative fees to this land development must be paid by the owner-developer. 11, this approval is subject to the fulfillment of all the foregoing conditions in their entirety, and no permit shall be issued, nor shall any development take place on the property unless and until all such conditions are fulfilled. Duly presented and adopted by Plymouth Township Council at a public meeting held on the 8th day of July 2024, Plymouth Township, by Karen R. Bramlett, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Vizio. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nelson. Any comments or questions from council? Just one comment. This will actually be a smaller restaurant than is currently there. Somewhat smaller.
I wish it was bigger.
Sometimes you just can't win.
Right, Karen?
Okay.
Here, long time.
All right. With that comment, can we take a roll call vote? Mr. Nelson?
In favor.
Ms. Leonard?
In favor.
Ms. Vizio?
In favor.
Mr. Whitney?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. All right. Next, we have an extension for the St. George Coptic Orthodox Church, 2907 Jolly Road. Ms. Vizio.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a letter from Tom Ludgate, dated 6/25/24, with regard to the developer St. George Coptic Orthodox Church on 2907 Jolly Road, granting an extension of time in which to consider and act on their subdivision and land development plan. The extension moves the deadline from June 25th, 2024 to October 25th, 2024, and I would make a motion that we accept this extension.
Motion by Ms. Vizio. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Whitney. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Mr. Whitney?
In favor.
Ms. Vizio?
In favor.
Ms. Leonard?
In favor.
Mr. Nelson?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. Next, extension request by Ms. Vizio, 527 Plymouth Road, Exeter property.
Mr. Chair, this is a letter from Deborah Shulsky, dated June 5th, 2024, regarding Exeter 527 Plymouth LP, confirming that Exeter 527 Plymouth requests another one-year extension of time from which council has to sign and record the approved preliminary final land development plans. The deadline, the one-year extension, would move the deadline to August 11th, 2025, and I make a motion that we accept this extension.
We have a motion by Ms. Vizio. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nelson. Comments or questions from council? Comments or questions from the audience? And that was the property that you were asking about on Plymouth Road, the Exeter group. All right. Hearing nothing, we will take a roll call vote. Ms. Vizio?
In favor.
Ms. Leonard?
In favor.
Mr. Nelson?
In favor.
Mr. Whitney?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. All right, next we have an escrow release. Ms. Vizio.
Thank you. I have a letter from Lonnie Manai regarding the property at 2622 Butler Pike. Based on field observations of work completed to date, it was found that sufficient work was completed to release the amount of $109,285. By releasing this amount, the total account balance for the project will be reduced to $209,248.02, and I would make a motion that we release this amount.
We have a motion by Ms. Vizio. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Whitney. Comments or questions from council, from the audience? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Mr. Whitney.
In favor.
Mr. Nelson.
In favor.
Ms. Leonard.
In favor.
Ms. Vizio.
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. All right. Under zoning, we have nothing new, but there will be the continued hearing for the variance for the fence at 600 Treaty Road. Under Parks and Recreation, upcoming events by Mr. Nelson.
First of all, I'd like everybody to know that there are official Plymouth Township t-shirts in limited colors and sizes, so we've got to get them quick. They're available at the community center here at the senior center. And then the following events are upcoming. So on this Wednesday, July 10th, there's a concert by the Chris Wolf Band. And then on Monday, July 15th, there's Coffee and Cards. And on Wednesday, July 17th, there's an outdoor movie. It's going to be Barbie. And on Friday, July 19th, there's Adventure Aquarium Night at the pool. It is Shark Week. And then on Wednesday, July 24th, there's another outdoor concert. It will be with the Box of Books. Wednesday, July 31st, there's another outdoor movie, and this one will be Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. And on Tuesday, August 6th, it'll be National Night Out with the Plymouth Township Police Department. And in the first week of August, that is when fall program registration begins, so mark your calendars. And also mark your calendars because the GPCC shutdown week will be from August 26th to August 30th. Details about the events that I just mentioned are available in the brochure, the app, or the website, or the social media for the Plymouth Township Parks and Rec. You can also call 610-277-4312.
Thank you. Next, under Parks and Recreation, we have bills of sale be read by Ms. Vizio.
Thank you. I have two bills of sale, which I will summarize. They are both for equipment being sold by Plymouth Township. The first is a 2014 Star Trek treadmill being sold for $135 to Daniel Boyle. The second is for a 2012 Life Fitness 95C recumbent bike being sold for $125 to Edward Bauso. In both cases, the equipment is being sold as is, and the contracts in both cases indemnify and hold harmless the township, its elected officials, and employees against any claim or damages caused by the equipment. In both cases, I would move that we approve these bills of sale.
We have a motion by Ms. Vizio to approve the bills of sale. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Whitney. Comments or questions from council, from the audience? We'll take a roll call vote. Hearing none. Ms. Vizio.
In favor.
Ms. Leonard.
In favor.
Mr. Nelson.
In favor.
Mr. Whitney.
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. Okay, we have some citizen board vacancy announcements by Mr. Whitney.
All right. All residents wishing to serve on the following citizens boards are asked to submit their resume or a letter stating their interest to the township manager at 700 Belvoir Road, Plymouth Meeting, PA 19462, or via email at kweiss@plymouthtownship.org. The following citizen board positions are currently open. There are 3 positions open on the Property Maintenance Code Appeals Board, and 1 position open on the Historical Architectural Review Board, the Human Relations Commission, and the Zoning Hearing Board. At this time, I'd also like to make a nomination for an appointment to the Environmental Advisory Board. I would like to nominate Frank McCreesh to fill an open spot on the Environmental Advisory Board.
Okay. Thank you. We have a roll call vote on the appointment of Mr. McCreesh.
We need a second.
Oh, okay, sorry. Is there a second to appoint Mr. McCreesh?
Second.
Second by Ms. Vizio. Any questions or comments by council or by the audience? All right, now we'll take a roll call vote. Mr. Whitney.
In favor.
Ms. Vizio.
In favor.
Ms. Leonard.
In favor.
Mr. Nelson.
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor.
Happy
All
to
right.
see residents stepping up to fill places on our citizen boards. That's great.
Yes, and we have more openings. Next, we do have a communication advisory committee, and the council liaisons to that are going to present an update. Ms. Vizio and Ms. Leonard.
Thank you. So we currently have a communication advisory council comprised of 8 residents from the township, 3 township employees, and 2 of us from council. The group has held 3 meetings so far, with a 4th scheduled for next week. It is a highly engaged group. We're very fortunate to have residents who are engaged, insightful, thoughtful, and generously giving their time to this effort. Some of the things we have done so far: the group has articulated a set of communication goals for the township. We have inventoried all of the existing communication media, resources, and how they're currently used. We've conducted some informal interviews with small groups of residents just to kind of get a preliminary feel for what people think of existing mediums, how effective they are, the kind of information they'd like to hear about. And we have used that to actually refine a more formal survey, which will go out shortly via electronic means and also in paper for people who prefer paper and pen. But we'll specifically be asking residents for more information about where they'd like to look for information, what information they're looking for, how effective some of our communication channels are, and sort of thinking forward, like to what would best serve their needs. At the end of the day, this is about getting the information that people want into their hands in an easy and timely way. That's the goal. And so we're surveying just to make sure we hear from a diversity of residents from across the township, different age groups, just as much as we can, getting a diversity of opinions. Shortly, we'll send the survey out, and while we're sending the survey out, members of the committee are also looking at other municipalities' websites and some of their communication practices, just to look for some best practices to see what we can learn. And then the group will share with council a set of recommendations for It could be anything. It could be the mediums that we use, how we're using them, how often we're using them, where we're giving people maybe an opportunity to opt in, where they want the township to proactively send things to them, versus we just want to make it, make stuff easy to find when I want to find it. So we just want to hit that sweet spot. We want to get it just right, where people feel like, the information I want is easily available when I want it. What did I forget?
I don't think anything. It was pretty thorough.
Yeah, any questions?
No, I guess at the end of the day, we're going to get a new website that help us push messages to people. We'd rather have it delivered to them rather than them seek it out,
Yes.
and that kind of thing, and probably lots of other ideas. But the new website is going to be very, that's part of the goal, right?
Part of the vision, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Karen.
So it would be nice, rather than having to look at your sewer bill to see what's going on, you can ask for push notices. I get push notices from the community center, and I love it. They're always telling me about the classes that are coming up and things like that. I've signed up for Code Red from our police department to know about, road closures and things like that are going on. And so I think this is a great idea that this committee is taking on to see how broadly things can be communicated, like the citizen board vacancies, and let more people know about it. So it'd be really great. And when you get that survey, if you all have ideas, share it with this committee. Anything else from the committee? All right, now we're going to have broad audience participation. Mr. McNichol, do you want to present your question now?
Yes. I'm just really questioning of the road. Sorry, my dad is calling me right now. When I was crossing the road, every once in a while, they were supposed to, the sign said there was going to be 11 apartments, in that outlet, and I get it, a lot of houses are coming in and out, but there was one particular house that is off the premises and literally right next to the outlet, towards that house.
And which road is this? Is this Sandy Hill Road or
Yeah,
Sandy Hill and
That right here.
It's the new road off of Hollowell, where the 11 houses going in. The new houses, the $1 million homes.
The Andres truck.
There's a 12th house going in. I think is what he's trying to say.
Well, there's an existing home, and then it was approved for more than 11.
It was 11, but they made 12 offside of the potential apartments, and
13 or 14.
and they added another house right next to that, which it cost almost about $750,000, which I know those people. They go to I go to high school with them, but I never met them personally. But the houses right next door, I'm just questioning, is it even part of that, or decided the construction people decided, no, let me just make that house for if somebody wanted to make money out of it.
Well, I think that site was approved for more than 12, something like 13 or 14, 15. So it was approved for 15. No house can be built without a lot of prior approvals and permits from, our code department and engineering gets involved. So they're not going above what was approved initially. It sounds like there are going to be fewer than the maximum, but I don't know about how they laid it out, what the various plot sizes, yard sizes are.
And
So is your question, are they building
Yeah,
something that
that's
was
what I-
that was not permitted?
It was more like was it even part of that or wasn't? That was towards my question, but like now I can see it.
Existing home. That was part of it. Yeah, still together.
There's two houses on the corner of, they were built first. And then there's the existing house.
Existing house.
And then there's the Andres truck.
Right, right. So the developer put together several parcels to build his homes that he's building. And part of, I think it was the Fanders property, there's an existing home that's going to stay. They had a lot of land in their backyard that was subdivided and included into the new home area. And I believe it was about 15 new homes on that cul-de-sac. That's what I kind of remember. I could be off by a couple, but. Yeah. And
They're
they're
not
B
building-
residential, they're quarter acre lots.
They're not building more than what was approved.
And
They're
it's
building
also,
what was approved.
and single-family homes, not apartments.
Yeah, no apartments.
No apartments.
Thank you. And another question, like I would like I heard in the mention in the past, I'm like, well, if you're selling these houses and like people from like, are you trying to like gather more people from out of the community or somewhere in the community for those houses? Like
That has nothing to do with the township. That is the private property owners, and he can market them to whoever he would like.
That's all. Thank you. I gotta go. My dad is here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
McNichols. Any other input from the audience? Yes.
Surprise.
The problem child.
Okay, if you could just, so that the minute, so the person who types our minutes can have your name, and do you live in the township or not?
So, my name is Artis Lukens. I live at 508 Conshohocken Road, CONSHOHOCKEN, stop laughing there, Road.
I thought it was Conchi.
It is country road. I'm on the Plymouth side. I'm asking about the status of the, wait for it, crosswalk. I understand that the crosswalk, once again, our plans were returned to the engineer for some kind of other adjustment. And I'm just wondering how long this is going to take, because it just seems to me like we are being picked and picked and picked at this point. So anyone have any ideas when PennDOT plans to approve this crosswalk? Because it would be great if the kids could have safety. We could all have safety crossing that road.
Wouldn't it be great if it happened before school started again?
That would be so awesome.
I don't
would
know.
probably cry.
What, Chief, do you have an update on that?
At first, I apologize. I had intended to call you, because we've been talking back and forth about the latest. Because I did tell you that it was sent back to the traffic engineer from PennDOT with some suggestions, updates, and need more information. The traffic engineer did apparently answer those questions and resubmitted it about 10 days ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. Now it's in the
Now we
hands of
start
PennDOT
6 to
again.
8 weeks again.
But we do constantly keep up with the traffic engineer, and then we try and get with the PennDOT. I know that they give us the runaround, not the traffic engineer, but PennDOT.
Yeah.
I don't know how quickly it will happen, but the traffic engineer did get on those questions, submitted it, resubmitted it, so it's back in PennDOT's hands.
I mean, is there any way, and I don't know, it just seems to me at this point as though PennDOT could look at all the plans, look at all the, everything that there is, come up with a list of questions, and we could say at some point, no more questions. You're either going to approve this or you're not going to approve this. Enough is enough. You know, because it just seems, this has been going on for a year now.
I don't think anybody controls PennDOT.
Is there anyone we can go to above PennDOT?
What we've dealt with the state senators and representatives.
Time to go back?
What's that?
Time for me to go back to that.
Maybe if you bake some of those chocolate chip cookies.
You like
I mean,
that?
I'll make some more calls. I'll call Greg Scott again and see. I don't know how well PennDOT has been responding to pressure so far, but at least we know that they've been communicating with our traffic engineer, so that is something. I don't think that they're trying not to do it. I just think that this is pretty much, anybody who's dealt with PennDOT, this is par for the course. Just, we're one of tens of thousands of requests. So.
Any word on the guardrails?
I thought that, and I'll verify this tomorrow, I thought that the traffic engineer, when he, in his email, said that that was incorporated in his same proposal, I thought.
Oh, okay.
But I'll make sure and then
Okay.
I'll let you know.
Okay, because then we can start on the sidewalk.
I will let you know, I'll talk to him tomorrow.
All right. That's it, that's all I have for Penny County. I hope you all enjoyed the decorations.
Very nice of you.
Yeah.
Connie Town always looks nice.
Yeah, it always
Thank
looks
you.
cute.
Any other questions or comments from the audience? Sir, no? All right. The meeting is adjourned, and we will see you at the Township Building next month.